Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. Time now for the Paranormal View. The Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Henry Foister, Craig Rupp, and Geoffrey Gould. The Paranormal View.
Welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for being in here tonight into the chat room and for the many hundreds of thousands listening from around the world. And if you're not here in the chat room, you need to come over to para-x.com and join in the chat room, because tonight we are going to be giving away some tickets. I think I got 5 tickets to give away to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention, which is held at Poasttown, Ohio, at the Poasttown School, the old school. And they have the Booth Brothers is going to be there, and Keith Age, Tiffany Johnson, Aaron Houdini, Rick Hayes, Brian Hornoy, John Kachuba, and Scotty Rourke, and many others. So, if you're not here in the chat room with us, please come on over and join into the chat, so later on you'll have a chance to try and win one of these tickets. So come on over. And tonight, I do want to thank everyone again for being here. We have with us Geoffrey Gould.
Well, that's usually a given. Hello.
And we have our newest co-host member with us tonight, Miss Kat Cloco.
I'm back.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you excited?
Oh, yes. I've been excited all week.
Well, congratulations, and we're glad to have you with us.
Oh, thank you.
I've got your introduction up onto the paranormalview.com website. I don't have your bio and stuff up in yet about the hosts, but that should be up within the next few days, hopefully.
Okay.
So we'll get all that taken care of. And tonight, our guest is going to be Mr. Geoffrey Gould. Geoffrey has had tons of personal paranormal experiences, and he's written about a lot of them. And we're going to be discussing a lot of those and other topics that might come up from time to time. So if you do have questions, you can private chat them to either me or Kat or Geoffrey, and we'll get them asked and find out everything about them. So in a little while, we'll be coming up with our first question for you to try and win a ticket to the Mid-Ohio Conference. So, Geoffrey.
Hello.
Why don't you, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, here goes 2 hours. I'm a lifelong actor. I started acting when I was 8 years old on the stage, and moved out to California at about 1998-ish, and I've been doing film work, TV, commercials. Most of my principal work have been in commercials, so I did have a day player role on The Practice, where I got to spend 8.5 hours with Sharon Stone running her fingers through my hair. I could live with that. And but most of the stuff people see me and recognize me in is a lot of very featured background role. That's mainly because SAG kind of earlier contract talks gave away certain things, sort of like what are called bit parts. And there was a time when if you had something that was really integral to the script, you were essentially a day player because it was written for you. But I've done roles that have actually had names and backstories, but I was paid as a background performer with no residuals because they could get away with it. um, so from an ethical level, you would think they were like, gee, he's right there, and if he wasn't there, they'd be talking about an empty room over there. But yeah, who knew? But I've been interested in the paranormal since I could read. I don't know why, whatever fascinated by it. But my parents, although not specifically interested in the paranormal per se, they were very much into movies and television, and they both were very much fans of science fiction and horror movies and monster movies. So I grew up on those. I was a very young child watching these on TV, but still these very gory Hammer films like Peter Cushing as Dracula, where they had more blood in movies back in the 70s than they do nowadays sometimes. Even in films, certain films like the Saw films, where people refer to it as torture porn, all I can think of is, you didn't see Saw, did you? There's
funny.
not so much as much blood as implied violence. So by today's standards, a lot of horror films have become almost very, very dark comedies. In fact, I saw Cabin in the Woods early in the week as a preview screening, and it is hilarious. And it's unlike anything you'd expect. And I enjoy watching a movie where I try to deduce where it's going, because it goes right at the start. It points out that it's taking the concept that we're used to, the teens in an isolated cabin being set upon by dark forces. But here we find out from the very first scene, so it's not a spoiler, and it's in the trailer if you look, that it's completely rigged by what would appear to be some sort of a government experiment. And like I say, it's fun to watch it unfold. And there are so many references. There are a couple of references to Clive Barker. I'm wondering how deliberate they were. Josh Whedon was at the screening the other night, and I wish I could have snagged him at the end to ask him, are those as much Clive? Those two references I saw were those Clive Barkery as I interpret. Specifically, there's a very obvious Hellraiser reference. It's very visual, but it just anyone who loves the Hellraiser movies, and I sure do. Well, the first three. Everything after that shouldn't have been, just a waste of celluloid. But yeah, I've lived in haunted houses or houses that have housed something, entities. The first house I lived in had something rolling around in my brother's bed one night when my brother was downstairs in the rec room having a sleepover with a friend. And it baffled the heck out of me. And I could literally hear somebody in my brother's empty bed rolling around. And when I finally had the courage to ask if anyone was there, not doing anything smart like jumping up and turning on the light or anything, because I was, a teenager, I could hear what sounded like the body facing away from me, rolling in the bed as though to listen to me better, to hear my question better. And by that time, I was like, that's it, I'm downstairs for the night. But what's kind of peculiar about that is that we were the first owners of that house, my family. We had moved from Brooklyn when I was 2, because we'd had my brother when I was 1.5, and my parents both realized a small apartment in Brooklyn wasn't going to cut it. They had to move. And they bought this as part of a tract housing. So we were the first owners of the house. And we had a small room, and it was clear as we were growing, like, all right, this isn't going to work either. We're going to have to expand the house. Instead of moving to a bigger house, they just decided to expand ours. So they took down the 1-car garage, replaced it with a 2-car garage, on top of which they had added a room, a large room, wasn't like a crawl space, living like Harry Potter or something, that connected to the house. So you had my parents' bedroom and a little hallway that went right into this large room. The one half was mine, one half was Alan's. It was delineated to be a shared space, and it even had a fold-out kind of a screen wall. Not like a Chinese screen, but it was like a folding, flap, flap, flap. It was about maybe 15 feet when pulled all the way out. If for some bizarre reason we got so pissy at each other or something, which happened, that we would do this as sort of like I don't even know what it would be called. It was an odd thing to have, but occasionally we pulled it out. But generally it stayed closed and retracted. And during this night, that I could hear something in his bed was when it was obviously when it was closed, so it wasn't pulled out. But since the house didn't have anything there before us, or we were the first owners of the house, and the room didn't exist, where did this entity come from? What was it? There's no way of knowing. And of course, I have no way of just writing to my Pompton Plains house address saying, "Hi, have you had any weird experiences since you moved in there?" You wanted me to talk.
I've got more. It's coming.
It was really fascinating to learn about that.
Now,
I should point out, Kat even said that she saw my Super Bowl commercial when it aired.
Yes.
Before she knew who I was.
Yeah. You're famous. Now,
I actually do have a fan base. I attended an actor workshop a few weeks ago, and one of the things that a friend of mine was running it, Bobby. His last name has eluded me. All of a sudden, Bobby Brown might be. Oh, that's embarrassing. But he and I had worked on a few projects together, and he told me he was doing this free workshop, so I attended, and he pointed out that there are ways to create fan bases. And I said, well, to the strangeness of my concept, I literally have fans, people who consider themselves fans as well as friends. And there will be times I'll be on Facebook and all of a sudden, hey, I just saw you on My Name is Earl. So I have to say which one, because I worked on it 4 times, all
right.
3 of which I'm very you can spot me easier.
Oh yeah.
And they'll tell me, and usually it's the one where I'm sitting at a desk as a teacher, and Earl is trying to get his GED. But there's another one later on in the season, towards the end of the series, because sadly it only ran 4 seasons, where I'm an ice cream vendor.
Yeah.
And Earl has to harass me because Joy is injured and can't do it, and he's forced to harass people in her stead. And so usually people recognize me from that really fast. And so it's interesting because I feel very fortunate, even though I never get I don't get upgraded. What happens is they'll see, they'll look at the crowd of background saying, who do we need to do this little bit in front of the camera? And they'll look at my goofy face and say, oh, you, come here. And they'll put me right in the family, and they'll give me a good action to do. And there I am. I've got some buku screen time. And so it's a bit of an ego boost, but it doesn't help pay the rent at the same time.
Now, you, I guess before we get into some of the stories that you've told or that you've got on your site, why don't you give that site out in case somebody might want to go and look at some of the things that you've got written up there?
Yeah, well, my website is geoffgould.net, which is all one word, GeoffGould.net. And that's essentially focused generally on my acting. But if you go to the sitemap, you'll find all sorts of interesting little pages that aren't up on the menu bar. For instance, the paranormal. If you put in geoffgould.net/paranormal.htm, I have it's sort of the hub page where all these different links to different pages of different experiences I've had. I even have a countdown. I noticed it's 199 days till Halloween. Yay. Little paranormal. Oh, thank you, Urban. Kat, you put my put my link in before I could. That's funny.
She's good. I'm telling you.
I'm trying to keep up.
Wait, are you doing up the report for this?
No, I haven't done the report for this.
Oh, okay, I'm deliberately not typing tonight until I'll write it up after I'll listen to it with great embarrassment later. I'm sure.
I know you do a lot of reading and stuff also. What is your
Yeah.
favorite book?
Yikes.
You don't have to say mine.
Well, that's a good point. Nonfiction or fiction?
Yeah.
Well, which one do you like? I mean,
Well, the thing is my problem is I tend to like book series.
Oh.
You see,
So yeah, just go with your favorite fiction series.
Yeah.
my favorite. Well, the thing is there are also different reasons as to why I like. I mean, I love the Harry Potter books. I love David Eddings' series, the Belgariad, the Tamulai, the Sparhawk series. I love Sword of Truth by Terry Goodkind. I'm finally reading The Omen Machine, which is one of his later books after the series kind of ended. And he was like, "This is it. It's over." And I'm thinking, yeah, well, we'll see about that. And sure enough, there are 2 other books sort of within the series. The Law of Nines, I was halfway through saying, wait a minute, this is a branch off of Sword of Truth. So all I could think of was back when L. Frank Baum tried ending the Wizard of Oz book series with the 6th book. And his fans said, no, we don't think you're going to stop. He wrote Patchwork Girl of Oz and just continued as though, oh, did I say we were never going to get any stories from Oz anymore? Oh, here we go. So I've read all of L. Frank Baum's books and such like that. But yeah, I've enjoyed certainly Kat's book. Marla's books are great. Her Ghosts of Hollywood series.
Yeah.
And I keep waiting for her to do a 4th. She's hinted she might, but yeah, kind of.
Well, I think she's got the stuff that she's wanting to write about. It's just being able to get it okayed, I guess, by the publisher.
Yeah, the proposal process takes a while.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Let's. I tell you what we're going to do. We are going to give away 1 ticket to start with, and then sometime after the first break, we'll do another one. And what we'll do is I'm going to ask a question, and the first person to private message Kat with the correct answer will be the winner. So I'm gonna make sure that Kat's ready for this.
Kat sounds like she's SOSing that the Titanic is sinking.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, okay, do I understand how this works? I'm waiting for a barrage. I'm going to go, oh my goodness.
Well,
now, this is interesting.
Remember,
Patsy in the chat room says, we know Jeff's favorite TV show. And I'm thinking, do you? Wonder what she thinks that is.
Well, I tell you what. Why don't you just go ahead and tell everybody what that is?
I like I say, like books, I have problems trying to delineate a specific favorite. I never. Of course, obviously, Doctor Who, yes. And then it pops up. Of course, it's Doctor Who is my favorite. That's the one I cannot miss. And its offshoots, Torchwood, and even the late Sarah Jane Adventures. No more of those, sadly enough. What with Elizabeth Sladen passing away? Who's beeping me? It's over here.
Okay, so you've got...
okay. I realized what that was. A little Skype message there I had to see. So, but yes, Doctor Who is definitely my favorite film. My favorite TV show. I actually grew up as a Dalek fan. When I was 9 years old, my family went to England, and the second Peter Cushing Doctor Who in the Dalek film, called Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD, was being released. And as I say, my parents loved science fiction, and so they had these big posters all over the place. So we're thinking, oh, that looks awesome. Why don't we see that? Because we're thinking, well, it's British. We don't know if it's going to come over to America. And I don't know if it actually hit American theaters. It showed a lot on television back in the 70s. But we went, and nobody told us it was based on a television program. And we were staying with relatives. We have relatives in Birmingham and Bournemouth. And we went to see it, and of course, back in the 1960s, monsters were essentially guys wearing rubber suits. Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Frankenstein, the Mummy, all that stuff. So to see Daleks rolling around like little miniaturized single-unit tanks with very metallic, grating, monotone voices was extremely awesome. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and for years, I just loved this movie, and we didn't realize that the reason there was so much Dalek toys in stores was because Dalek mania was at its height in England at that time. So we bought a lot of the plastic toys from the 1960s and Dalek books and Dalek annuals and the Doctor Who annuals. And what confused me was the Doctor Who annual had the actor, William Hartnell, as the Doctor. And I'm like, that's not Peter Cushing. What? So, yeah, Kat, I've been having problems with those private messages too. I don't know how someone will pop up
a window will pop up,
up.
And the next one's going to pop up right on top of it. You just have to kind of filter back.
It's just going to cascade windows all over my computer screen.
No, it doesn't. It embeds itself within the top of the chat room.
Right. And you just have to pull each one down until you get to the first one, and then go back and find whichever one was the first one with the correct answer.
Okay, thank you.
And what we'll do is once she gets the one with the correct answer, she'll let me know who it is. We'll announce it, and then you need to private message me with your mailing address, name, street, all the good stuff on there for the mailing address, so we can get the ticket sent to you. So here we go with the first one, and
I was going to say it's not. Obviously, it can't be any of the hosts of other shows.
No, it's going to be a simple one.
Okay. No, I mean the winner. The winner can't be someone from
right.
our ex-host, right?
Right.
Eligible.
It can't be a show host.
Which is usually about 99% of the chat room. Oh wait.
No, not really.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, the question is, what are the Bruce brothers' names? There's two of them. So what
you need
are
to
the
private
Bruce
message
brothers'
me at Urban Cat.
names? Right. Urban Cat is the one that you're going to send the message to try and win this. So until then,
phone is the wrong answer.
The what?
Phone would be a wrong answer. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's kind of a hint. Phone is not an answer.
That's right. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go with a small one. Of all the things that you had written about, let's go with the story of the Ambassador brush.
Oh, well, that was a while back. I'm trying to remember the year. It was in the early 2000s. I had been booked for several days on a film called Jump Shot, and what had happened was it was at the Ambassador Hotel where Bobby Kennedy was shot. And I got there, and the Tammy Smith, who had cast me in Fun with Dick and Jane and the other film. Oh, I can't remember the other film. It was Along Came Polly. That was the other one. She was on set, which doesn't always happen. You don't always have the person who did the casting actually there. But it was clear. I had no knowledge of the history of the Ambassador Hotel. I just knew it was a closed hotel that they used a lot for filming. So they had done up one of the main ballrooms into a casino, an Atlantic City casino. And as I was standing around at one point outdoors in the sunlight with nothing around me, all of a sudden I got bumped as though something brushed past me, and I just happened to be in the way. And it was my left elbow. And it happened so fast and such a strong sensation that I looked down to see the fabric of my the shirt going back. You know how if it goes, if someone pushes in one direction, it obviously goes back a bit into position. So whatever had pushed me, the effects were, it was coming back, and I'm thinking, that was just weird. What the heck was that? And I think, did like a pine cone hit me or something? I looked down. There was nothing on the floor of the courtyard. We were outside, and I look up and I figured, well, maybe there's a really tall palm tree or something, and there was no trees above me, nothing overhead. I was not near a side of the building that anything fell off. So I'm like, that is just the weirdest thing. What the heck? So later I mentioned to Tammy, I just happened to say, what is the deal with the place? And she told me about Bobby Kennedy being shot, and she indicated that she's sensitive a bit, so she can sense that there are things around, so she's open to the paranormal. And I told her, I said, I think something just walked by me and bonked into me. That was just kind of weird. And during one of our many between times where we weren't being used, and there was a lot, I sort of went exploring. And consider it, I'm glad I did, even though nothing happened after getting bonked outside. It was cool to explore this hotel, which is now no longer there. It was completely razed to the ground, and they put something else up, but I can't remember what building it is, but it's down on Wilshire Boulevard. Not walking distance, but it's actually really close on the same bus line I am right now. So yeah, that was just kind of weird. The worst thing about it was I was hoping to do some more checking the day after, but about 90% of us that had all been promised 5 days of work were told were wrapped. We were, okay, you don't have to come back tomorrow. You don't have to come back tomorrow. And at the time, I didn't know that if I had at least said, I've been booked for 5 days, it is now like 6 o'clock. I have no way of booking myself on something tomorrow because you had already booked me. You need to pay me for tomorrow, which is something that SAG actors can do, those who know that they can do that. But I didn't at the time. So I was like, oh, I just worked 1 day. So for me, I was at least happy that the film never got any kind of recognition or release. And very recently, I was kind of doing a check. Sometimes I'll go through and do research on old stuff that I'd worked on, and apparently Jump Shot is released on DVD under a different title called Even Money, and I found that, and it doesn't have a whole lot of, on the IMDb, it's like got 5 stars. I voted 1 star because I did Netflix it. I didn't see myself. I knew I was buried. But I figured, well, let's see why, and I say, well, that's why. If they had been nice to me, it would have been a really successful film. But there's a concept I jokingly call Badger Luck, which is where I get, if somebody is really, really nice to me, all of a sudden the luck in their lives improves. And if they treat me like crap, their life, kind of spirals out of control. Which makes me kind of still wonder whatever happened to my mind-lost friend who kind of had her meltdown during our show that fateful 1st January of last year. I don't know what's happened since then. I know that so far no progress online that I've ever seen, so hooray. But that's how that was my little Ambassador Hotel. I don't know if it was Bobby Kennedy or an EMT or something, what kind of entity may have brushed me, but something bunked into me that I didn't see.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Did I need to wake you up, Harry? I'm sorry.
No, I was trying to read something in here, and you just kind of abruptly stopped and caught me off guard.
Oh, okay, yeah. My stories don't peter out. They just sort of stop.
They just stop. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I was busy, though.
Now you know how I feel when I'm typing away in the show.
And if somebody asks you something.
Exactly. You ask me a question. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
All right. I tell you what I'm going to do. And I guess I still don't have a winner yet.
Wow.
Yes, you do,
Really?
Henry.
Well, in a sense, but they requested it go to somebody else, and I'm not sure that
Oh.
I
Well,
can,
then go to the
I
second
can
place.
do that. Anybody else send one in?
No, they were quite shy about it.
Okay.
I only got one response.
I'll get a clarification on it first, and then we'll go from there.
We'll put it to the judges' vote.
Yeah. While we're waiting on that, why don't you tell the story about the AFI ghosts?
Oh, yeah. Well, AFI is the American Film Institute, and they're located pretty much walking distance to me now, up on north of Western, north of Hollywood Boulevard and Franklin Avenue. And they're up on the top of the hill. And I understand, I'm going to have to check, but somebody indicated that there might, apart from what I experienced, there might be more haunting, because what I experienced just didn't make sense from a haunting point of view. But one of the reasons I need to go up there is during this workshop I did the other week, they said that there are these pigeonhole boxes for the acting filmmaker students, and what you do is you put like your contact cards in there, and that's something you should do. Is I'll just say, there you go, yeah, you want to use me in your project, there you go. But I've auditioned for a few AFI films, and I've done a couple actually. And on this one day, I had an audition for a film. It was in the same Warner Brothers building where these pigeonhole things are that I need to go check out. And I got there early, as I tend to do. Even my website says I'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. It always surprises people when they sign me in. Your call time is. So I found the room that it was going to be, and it was locked. And there are these sort of like a row of auditorium seats just lined up against the wall for people to wait to go in to audition or otherwise, whatever they're doing. And as I was sitting there, a couple of young men come around the corner, and they're like, hey, how you doing? And they just sort of wander past me. They're right in front of me, and they go to the door, and I don't remember if they had a key. But they open the door opens up, they go inside. I think, okay, these are the guys I'm going to be auditioning for this short student film. And I'm still sitting there. And a few minutes go by, and two other people show up. They're like, oh, hi, you're Jeff, you're here for the audition. I'm like, yeah, how you doing? And all that. And as they go to open the door, I'm about to say, well, you've already got two of your people already in here. I walk in, and the room is empty, except for the three of us. And I'm like, what happened to the two guys that got here before you? They say, what do you mean? They had no knowledge of anyone else working on the project. And I kind of gently went over to the window, and it was like just enough of a drop that it would have been really inconvenient to sneak out that way. There was no second door. I'm like, I saw two physical people walking into this room. And I'm seeing this in my head because I realize I'm not going to just point this out to the film students, because they probably wouldn't have booked me, even though they didn't book me anyway on that particular gig. But to this day, I'm like, wait, it wasn't like I saw two people that I suspected might not have been corporeal going into a room. I saw two students who were physical. They were walking, they were making footsteps, they were talking to each other. Everything was hunky-dory. They go into a room, and then they're not there anymore. So I have no idea whether or not they were ghosts, or it was a time slip, or that just threw me for a loop. I have no idea where that went. That was just very, very bizarre to me.
Now,
That's really interesting.
it is.
It surprised me.
If you actually seen them go in the room and there was no way out, and you told the guys that went in there with you that someone had come in, or that somebody was already in the room?
Yeah, as we were going in, I was saying, well, you've already got a couple of people, because I figured there were four students that were going to meet, and the two had shown up early, and then here come the other two, and in we go, and then there were only two. Well, and it wasn't like the same guys. It wasn't like doppelgangers or anything like that. They were completely different people.
Well, what did they say when did they believe you or acknowledge it or anything at all?
Well, we were just sort of surprised. They were. I was saying, I saw two people come in here, and it's not like I went to the bathroom and they had time to leave. So they were just like, I don't know what to tell you, kind of an attitude. They weren't like, oh, the place is horribly scary. No, they were just like, no, we don't know. I was like, oh, what good are you people?
Did they happen to say that things like that's happened before there?
They did not. They were kind of surprised I was saying it at all, I think.
All right.
Wow.
This
reminds me actually of something I heard on Celebrity Ghost Stories.
Ooh, like what?
Oh, it was I don't remember which actor it was, to be honest, but he was walking through an old Italian restaurant that was owned by a family, and the son was now managing the restaurant and had just broken it to this actor friend of his that they were going to have to close because they couldn't financially keep it up anymore. If anybody knows what episode I'm talking about, just say it in the chat room. But as the actor is sitting in the back area of the restaurant where the public generally don't walk through, this man wearing a three-piece tuxedo suit with incredibly polished shoes walks by the actor and up a flight of stairs and into the large banquet room where the doors were closed and locked. And the actor is trying to stop the man, saying, wait, no, those doors are locked. And when he reaches the doors, they're locked, and the man is nowhere to be seen. So your story just reminded me of that.
Ah. Well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I want to let everybody know we do have a winner for the first ticket, which we'll leave 4 more. And if you're not in the chat room and you're listening from somewhere else out there in radio land, come on over to para-x.com. Join in the chat, click on the player button at the top of the page, and you'll be able to also have a chance to win one of these other 4 tickets that we'll be giving away a little later. The first winner we have is Karen, Ghost Soldier #1
Woo-hoo.
fan. So if you private chat me with your name and mailing address, I'll get that sent off to Dave, and Dave will get the tickets sent out. Because it's only a couple of weeks away until the convention. And it will be at Posttown, Ohio, just right outside of Middletown. And they have the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention. It's put on by Keith Age and the Louisville Ghost Hunters Society. There will be Booth Brothers, Keith Age, Tiffany Johnson, Aaron Houdini, Rick Hayes, Brian Hornwa, John Kachuba, Scotty Rourke, and many others will be there.
Scott who?
Scotty Rourke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, Scotty was with me on the very first investigation that I ever got to do. So,
But this event sounds fantastic, and the Posttown Elementary School is fabulously haunted.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one that had footage looking down the hallway of the black figure walking around? Or is that a different school?
That would be a different place.
I think, but they do have footage of one of the doors slamming shut on its own.
Right. As a matter of fact, Kat went there with me for the first time.
Yes.
And they had a meet and greet there, and we went to it like the froze to death.
And that was the place where, on my way there, I went to the wrong big boy and got the really creepy everyone staring at me story.
Yeah.
I remember talking about that the first time I was on this show.
Oh, you mean all the patrons were staring at you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She went somewhere and dropped in at a Frisch's, and it was like one of them hillbilly backdoor things somewhere. I guess it looked like she was an outcast or from some other planet, but
We don't take kindly to strangers around here.
No, it was truly like a Children of the Corn or the Omen moment where everyone, they were looking down at their plates eating, and everyone simultaneously looked up at me. Like they all just knew exactly that somebody from the outside world had walked in on them.
Oh, that is so awesome.
It was awesomely creepy. How about we'll just say that.
All you could think of is like, this is how horror films start.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I would have tried not to laugh. I would have been like, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. I'd be looking at him and like, don't laugh.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Well, I tell you what, we've done Blue kind of right on by our first break. But there's still going to be plenty of chances to try and win another ticket. So stay tuned. We will be back in just a little bit and give you a chance to win another one. So since Kat is new, I'm going to let Geoffrey do the first one, and then Kat will be able to do the second one. So listen close.
Seriously? You're listening to the paranormal. I was sitting there thinking, oh, this is great. He's going to make Kat do the thing. You're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com, where the guest is some squirrely little guy from Brooklyn who lives in California and does acting stuff.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being here listening tonight, and for the thousands upon thousands listening from around the world. If you're not here with us, come on over para-x.com and join in the chat. Click on the player at the top of the page, and you'll be able to hear the show. And you will be able to participate by sending private messages to either myself, Kat, or Geoffrey with questions about Geoffrey, or either one of us. And you'll also be able to take part in a chance to win a ticket to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention at Post Town, here just outside of Middletown. And it's going to be a great convention. I've been there a couple of times to the old school. And all these people that are going to be there, a great chance to get out and mingle and meet some of these. And I believe they're also going to have a cookout on Friday night, so you'll be able to go and just rub elbows, and I don't know what all they're going to have to eat, but it should be really great. And
barbecue sounds like chicken, hot dogs, and hamburgers.
I have no idea what they're going to have.
Baby fish.
Yeah. But they're also going to have an investigation. I believe it's on Saturday night there at the whole school. So,
cool.
And Dave will be broadcasting live from there right here on Para-X. So you'll be able to see and hear everything going on there at the school, at the convention.
Sweet.
So we'll have another chance here in just a little bit coming up.
Now, is that going to be on Paravision or Ustreaming or?
That'll be on the Para-X Vision that Dave does. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, let's get back to stuff. And Kat, I believe you've got somebody sent you a question already.
Yes, indeed. We got a question from Patsy for Jeff. And the question.
Call me surprised.
Oh yeah. Did you know anyone in LA back in 1998, or did you just go on your own without any prospects?
It was kind of the latter. What happened was I was dating somebody in New York who has lived all over the place. She almost nomadic to the point of just impresses the heck out of me. And she and I were dating. We met in Manhattan and started dating and essentially kind of started living together as it was. And she decided, as tended her, that if I was going to be an actor, we needed to be in L.A. Now, I was getting work in Manhattan. In fact, my brother and mother, who are both in SAG, have sometimes been getting more work out there than I've been getting out here. In fact, I don't know if you ever saw the show Royal Pains. For the first 2 seasons, my brother was the stand-in for the main lead for the first 2 seasons that aired until they changed production companies. So he was making money. So he literally lives in a house. I've been, living pretty much check to check out here. And so without any real research other than a company that sponsored these casting director workshops, which is kind of a not exactly an accurate description. What it is there was a time a lot of people, these companies, will have actors show up to pay $35 for the evening for the privilege of reading scenes for casting directors or people who are, supposed to be casting directors. And what we were really doing most of the time was helping that person pay their own rent. And so you would sit there and you'd spend the evening waiting for your turn. You'd practice a scene with somebody else. You come in and read, and then they would either cast you or they wouldn't. And 99% of the times, they wouldn't. They were doing, thank you all for reading, and then they'd go home and count up their cut of the money that they were given for coming to listen to actors who were desperately hoping to get work. And but she was very much she was a sweetheart. I love her. We're still in touch. But as boyfriend and girlfriend, we had certain, as I recently called it, eccentricity, not collisions. It was a very clashing eccentricities is how I think I put it. And it became clear that we were really good. We were great at being friends. We were great at being lovers. But as boyfriend and girlfriend, there was a lot of friction involved. So she eventually did find somebody who was exactly like me, except he had money, a house, and career. And he was really nice. I mean, he and I made friends, and he was really I liked him a lot. She eventually moved on. Now she's on her own again in the middle of some nowheresville in Illinois, last I've heard. And I like I say, I still love her as a friend and such like that. But had she not made that uprooted move to get me out here, I can't say I'd have been more successful in New York, but I don't know. I've had fun out here. I've made a lot of friends. I've gotten certainly a lot of work that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten. I certainly wouldn't have gotten my Super Bowl commercial if I'd been in New York. But there you go. To each their own. And I'm kind of glad I am where I am.
Well, I'm sure that that was a good Patsy like that. Now, also, there's another funny one. You've been with us now a little over a year. You're on your
you're in a quarter now.
You're on your second year. But there was a funny story about the first show that you done.
Oh yeah.
And why don't you tell that one?
Well, we were I was living with a friend who literally we were the epitome of BFFs. We were I doing my best not to name her, but for the longest time I house sat for her, I dog sat for her, and I lent her lots of money while when I was because as an actor it's feast or famine. When she needed help with her rent on her own, I continually lent her money, which she never, ever paid back. But when my Hollywood roommate mismanaged our funds and we got evicted, much to my horror, she said, well, you might as well come live with me. I've got the second bedroom. You're the one that I trust who house sits and takes care of Champ and Dumbledore, her wonderful dogs. And both dogs love me to death, to the point that she referred to herself as their mama. but they referred the dogs knew me as their alpha. So they weren't like, well, we're the boss of this place. They're like, hey, love us, take us out. They had no problem deferring to me as the alpha of their little pack. So it got to the point that I'm sure that if she and I each had a red leash and stood on opposite sides of the room, both dogs would have come to me before going to her. It had gotten to that point. And as time went by, despite how amicable I tend to be, it became obvious that she had certain issues with the concepts of reality and what's correct and what isn't. Her concept was, if every single person on the planet disagreed with her, they were all wrong. That was the way she perceived her outlying reality, to the point that if I, what was I going to say? If anything didn't revolve around her, she really didn't pay attention to it. Now, she was aware that I was going to be a host on Para X. She knew it was going to be a 2-hour show. She knew that it was going to be from 5 till 7. All of this. But she refused to retain it because it didn't matter to her. It had to do with me, and therefore had no importance to her perception. And she had a considerable amount of OCD. Well, not to the point that she was ever on her hands and knees with a brush, but she was very anxious about having the place clean, which makes sense. But there's a time and a place also. She claimed to be an actress, but she couldn't do a British accent to save her life, even though she always claimed that she studied in Cambridge. But whenever she tried to do a British accent, or pretended to, it was this weird, high, shrieking falsetto. And it was just like, I was like, why do you do that? That makes no sense. Why do you think, do that to me when I watch British television all the time and I know what a British accent is? But I think what upset her the most was that I did not treat her like a girlfriend. She was literally starting to act like a girlfriend without benefits. And everything, the worst aspects of a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship is what she started to reflect. And we were never attracted to each other physically or romantically, and we hung out. We just did fun stuff. But she's got more and more spiraling into this essentially odd little personal realm of madness that she decided was a fun place to be, I guess. And that Saturday night, January 1st of last year, she decided she wanted the apartment clean. And normally we did that on Sunday. And I'm like, well, I've got my radio show to do. And she was like, I don't care. I want to do it now. I'm like, well, the apartment's not going to get any dirtier or cleaner if we hold off until 7 p.m. when I'm doing, the show's over, we'll clean. And the concept also of her cleaning by herself was also insane to her, because she felt, that I would be trying to get out of working or something, even though I scrubbed, the kitchen down to within an inch of its life. I'm sure by her standards, I probably went in, tracked dirt on the ceiling as far as she was concerned. So I don't know. Did you hear our first show, Kat?
I did not. I'm
Okay.
sorry to say.
Well, at the time, I don't use Skype other than generally doing the show. The other time I do Skype is if my brother calls me up and says, give me a call, let's talk, and we'll do a video chat. But generally speaking, Skype is off. It's not on for me. So I went on Skype, and I didn't know enough about it. I mean, I could turn it on. I could, call people, and people can call me. I have no problem with that. But I didn't know about how to mute a microphone. So my headset has this little device, and what it does is it adjusts the volume in the earpieces. I thought that was what I would mute my mic with. Well, she starts pounding on the door while the show is on. and like, I want to clean. We got to get this car clean now. And I go, like, I'm on the air. And she didn't care. This is a woman who claims to be an actress. The concept, it would be like if she was doing a stage performance and I came out saying, you got to walk your dogs. Sorry, just letting you know. You know, something insipid while in the middle of a performance. So I couldn't get through it. I'm like, trust me, at 7 o'clock, I'll be done. And we'd have a guest. I forget who our guest was, but they were talking. So when the guest talks, you don't. Now, Kat and Henry, you're both sitting there. If somebody were to walk into the room, they would just see you listening on your headsets.
Right.
Well, she started yelling through the door, I don't hear you. That means you're off the air.
Oh, no.
She literally said that. And I'm like, what the hell? And so, and God forbid I ever try and close a door. No matter how slowly you close a door while she's going berserk, she claims you're slamming it in her face. So I was like, this is not good, you know. So finally, she just starts pounding on the door, screaming. She might as well have been saying the place was on fire. She was so damnably insistent that Henry, the chat room was going mad. They were both highly amused and horrified at the same time.
Right, because they could hear everything. Yeah.
They could hear everything she was screaming. And under more normal circumstances, people might think, wow, what a terrible girlfriend. Because that's how she sounded. She sounded like an insane girlfriend. And I was like, oh. And Henry starts typing, for God's sake, go. You know, don't worry about it. You know, you're not fired or anything. Go. And so I said, sorry, I'll be back next week. You know, and I went clean. And within about a few days, she had lost her mind to such an extent that she locked me out at 10 p.m. on a Monday in January with the clothes on my back.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it was hilarious. I mean, everybody in the chat room was just going ballistic. And finally, I told him, I says, it's okay. Go ahead and take care of it. So, because Craig was on with me, so we was able to take care of the guest and handle everything. But it was just hilarious.
Oh, man.
I mean, it wasn't.
Wow.
It wasn't.
That's all
funny.
I can say. She's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Well, I tell you
but
what.
Fortunately, I had friends who were, you know, I was able to. I had already been speaking to a friend because what really set her off that last night was she wanted me to move a 50-plus pound mega television set off of this trunk she had and put up this new little easier and much lighter flat screen TV, which had a bigger screen, which was cool. And I had no problem with that, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore. You know, she gave me no assistance with it, but apparently while I was moving it, it slightly scratched the surface of the wood of this old trunk, which apparently she bought at some overpriced Pier 1 kind of place. And that's what really set her off and why she locked me out. But I called my friends who worked with wood, and of course she claimed her family come from literally a lumber company up in Louisville, Kentucky, and she was under the impression there was no way it could ever be repaired, even though my friends who work with wood all the time because they renovate their house, they're like, yeah, it's most likely, you know, that could be fixed, no problem. And at the time I had my not smartphone, which got no signal inside the apartment. I had to go outside, which is where I ran into the problem of being outside. And she just tried to call in and then screaming on my answering machine, you know, I know you have a smartphone, which I didn't, you know, because of course, And so when I was done and it was clear I wasn't going to get back in, because I didn't want, you know, it would be nonsense to call the cops because I wasn't, even though the manager of the apartment complex knew me, I walked her own dog. And Violet says, I think the whole television would have accidentally hit the floor. I'm not a vindictive person, the thing is. But the manager of the apartment knew who I was, but she also knew I was never really put on the lease. So legally, I probably didn't have a whole lot leg to stand on. But my friend who was too far away, her mom lives in Hollywood. So her mom and friend put me up for the night, and I went up. My other friend up in Altadena, I stayed up there for the rest of the year until I found where I am now in Hollywood. Yay! So, but yeah, that was fun. Learn something new. So considering that she believes herself to be a producer and she has a lot of networked people, she's never gotten a project off the ground. And I would think that Badger Luck is going to keep her from having that happen because she effed me over big time.
Now, before we jump into another question, we're going to make it a little more simpler for someone to win a ticket to be able to go to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention at Post Town. Very simple. And what we're going to do is the first person to private message Kat and say, I want to go, will be the winner. So start PMing Kat right now. The first one will be a winner. When we announce the winner, the only thing you'll have to do is private message me with your full name and your address so we can get a ticket mailed to you. So Kat will let me know as soon as we have a winner. And Jeff, I know you've got a ton of stories, and I know Kat's got some she's wanting to ask you. So I'm not going to ask that, but what I will ask you is you had this one story called Dad's Penny. You want to talk about that one?
Well, my father passed away in February of 1992. What had happened was he had throughout my whole memory of him is whenever the four of us went walking, my brother and me and my dad and mom, when the four of us ever walked anywhere, Dad was always kind of a pace or two behind us because he was invariably finding pennies and other coinage on the floor, on the ground. And we would just walk right by this stuff. We would never see these pennies, but Dad, boop, I found a penny, and this was a big deal for him. Well, Dad came down with a slight bit of bronchitis, and the following week, he began feeling very, very poorly and a great deal of pain. But he couldn't localize it as to what the problem was. So he went down to the doctor, and they thought that it might be, related to the bronchitis he had had. So essentially, he was misdiagnosed. What no one was aware of was he was having a heart aneurysm, and he had a leak in his heart. And what was happening was little bits of blood were slowly filling up his body cavities, and that was causing the pain. So at one point during the evening, I asked him whether or not he would be open to maybe some energy work. So he laid down, and I put my hands over his kidneys, which is where he was feeling the most pain. But that was the symptoms. It wasn't the cause. But all I could feel was the energy that I was sending in was being deflected, and it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, why does it feel like the energy isn't going where I want it to go? It's like it's hitting an energy field and just bouncing off. Because, again, I wasn't completely in the wrong place. And it did help Dad a little bit. He felt it didn't hurt. It hurt less after I was done with that. But as the evening progressed, he became weaker and weaker, and he thought, I think there's something really wrong. So my brother got him in the car, before which I was able to hug him. And for some reason, we were all thinking, oh, God, is this it? Because there had been a time 2 years earlier that he was feeling so poorly that we were actually composing his obituary while he was alive, while he was there, just getting information. And we got him on a botanical supplement called Matol KM, which improved his health to such an extent that his doctor was just amazed. His doctor had put him on a stress test, and halfway through he said, "Are you feeling any chest pains?" And he goes, "No, I'm doing fine." And he says, "The machine says you should stop now." So now, a few months on this Matt's Hall KM stuff, and all of a sudden, he goes back to the doctor, finishes the stress test, and the doctor's like, "All right, you shouldn't be improving. You should be deteriorating. What are you doing differently?" And Dad showed him a bottle. The guy looks at the botanical information on the side and says, "All right, keep taking it." So this kept him really going well for another 2 years. But by this time, his body was saying, this isn't working out. We need to finish him off another way. So the aneurysm was working because nobody was recognizing it as the problem. So realizing this could be it, I was able to hug him goodbye and say, just know I've always loved and respected you. He gets in the car. Alan races him to the hospital. And Dad just almost is dying in the car to the point that he's like, ugh. And my brother's like smacking him on the chest like, no, stay with me, stay with me. He gets to the hospital. And as the orderly, and we would call the head, the orderlies come running out, and they pull him out of the car, and his slippers pop off, and they put him on the gurney. They're rushing him inside. My brother, you know how you get in that weird, I don't know what to do kind of aspect. So it wasn't like he was asking a stupid question. But my brother holds up the slippers like, what do I do with these? And without realizing how it was sounding, one of the orderlies says, "Oh, he doesn't need those where he's going."
Really?
So they wheel him into the ER and everything, and my literally the last words he says to my brother is, "My Social Security card is in my pocket," something like that. And lifetime of wisdom, Dad. Thanks so much. So he goes in, and they say, "Well, we'll call you if there's any change. We'll keep him overnight and see what happens." Alan gets home, the phone rings, and he calls upstairs, says, "Jeff." I'm like, "Oh my God, this is it." And I said, "Is he?" And they said, they literally called him to say, "You better come back to the hospital right now." And he called upstairs. I go, "Is he dying?" He says, I don't know. We raced to the hospital, running every light we can. We didn't even care if there had been a cop, and there wasn't. The universe had cleared the way for us. We get there, we go in, and the doctor comes in, and she says, "All right, we don't know what the problem is. He keeps crashing on us. He's gone through every color crash code that we have. Every time we think we have him stable, he crashes again." And all of a sudden, this light goes on in my head, and I say, "Oh my God, there's free blood in his abdomen." And the doctor does this slow turn to me like, "What?" And I just literally, I in her face, I go, "There's free blood in his abdomen. Go, go!" And she goes running out of the room. And my brother and mother are looking at me like, "Sorry, what?" And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I don't know how it clicked, but when I was doing the energy work, I was reminded of when our second dog, Lady, she had had tumors on her liver, and she had gone out to go to the bathroom while it was raining, and instead of just going to the bathroom and coming back in, she looked at me and laid down and looked at me like, "I've got a problem." So I took her to the emergency vet, and the first thing he did, he checked around, and he took a syringe, put it in her belly, and drew out free blood and said, "Okay, she's got a problem. She's going to have to go into surgery." So that somehow clicked in my head, and that's where I got the free blood in Dad's abdomen. That was what the problem was. So by that time upstairs, the doctors had called it. They hadn't been able to revive him long enough to keep going. And the doctor came down and said, "Okay, I'm sorry, he's already expired." And then she looks at me like, "How could you have possibly known there was free blood in his abdomen?" Because apparently there was. That was the problem. He'd had an aneurysm. And I couldn't just say, "Well, I was doing some Reiki kind of work on him," and because that wouldn't have gone over too well with a medical doctor. And I just said that the connection with how my dog had passed away and how she had had free blood in her abdomen, somehow that seemed to synchronistically click in my head, and that sufficed enough for her to leave. And I sat down next to my mom. My brother was at sort of like sideways to us in another chair. And the doctor hadn't left yet, because then my mom said, "Well, at least he died quickly." And her frame of reference, both my brother and I got her frame of reference. Her mother had a stroke and had spent 7 years in a bed. So for her, that was a long death. So for Dad to die within a single day, that was a quick death. And the doctor's like, what do you mean a quick death? What? And later we realized, well, a doctor's idea of a quick death is you're walking down the street, you stop being alive, and you fall down. That's a doctor's idea of a quick death. She was like, he was in agony for hours. And we're like, oh, thanks for reminding us. So the doctor goes out, and we're just sitting there in this dumbfounded, like, wow, Dad's gone kind of thing. And Alan gets up, my brother, and he comes over to me, and between my feet, Alan picks up a penny. And Mom just chokes out one of these, oh my God, it's Robert's penny. From that day till now, my brother and I find pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. We found dollar bills skittering down the street. I find dollars sitting on bus seats when I sit down sometimes. And every time I find money that way, loose money, I always just say, thanks, Dad. How you doing? Just hello, Dad, pretty much. So that's my signal that he's hanging out and saying hello, keeping an eye out.
Wow, that's fascinating.
A lot of times on days I have auditions, I'll find several coins as I'm either going to or coming from. Sometimes both.
And hopefully you have good luck on those days.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Just to let everybody know that we still don't have a winner. If doesn't matter where you live at, if you'd still like to have a chance to be able to go to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Conference, just private chat Urban Cat, and say, I want to win. And you will be the winner of a ticket.
Oh, it's not even an answer to a question.
No, we aren't even asking a question. We're just first one to say that I want to win will get a ticket. And it's for April the 27th, 28th, and 29th. And we have all these wonderful people. And the Booth Brothers, by the way, will be airing their new DVD, Children of the Corn 2. You'll get to see it on the full screen.
Children of the Corn.
Wait, what?
What?
Sorry, Children of the Grave.
Children of the Graves too.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay. I don't know why I had corn. I know I had corn for dinner, so that's close enough. Anyway, do that.
Karen is saying, I had to answer a question. Sir, well, there's so many people over in those others should come into the chat room and just say dibs, and there you go.
They need to come into the chat room and say, I want to win, and they will be the winners of a ticket. So until somebody does that, and our time, we done blew right on past our second break. I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and take our second break, and when we come back, Kat has questions that she's just itching to ask.
Itching.
Yeah. Chomping at the bit, you might say, So,
kind of mixing your metaphors there a bit.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It's late. So I'm going to let Kat learn how to do this the right way.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I've been waiting all week to say this. I've been practicing, guys, in the mirror. Yeah. Okay, everyone, you are listening to The Paranormal View with Henry Foister, Geoff Gould, and Kat Cloco here on the ParaX Radio Network.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making ParaX part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, ParaX.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on para-x.com. And if you're listening from somewhere other than here in the chat room, come on over, para-x.com, and click on join the chat and click on the player button at the top of the page, and you'll be right in with all these wonderful people. Okay.
I must admit, I've always found that the people in all the different chat rooms of all the different shows of ParaX have always been really smart, intelligent, and really funny. They have to keep me on my toes for all the jokes I throw in the chat room. I was checking a message or two, and Sally Richards, who is she's getting a book together, and once she's got her stress is all done of that, she's going to be a guest on our show, and she had promoted tonight's show, and she pointed out she didn't know who the guest was, And I pointed out, well, we had a guest who kind of pulled out, and it's probably just going to be me. And at the very bottom, at about 4:45, Richard Sennett said, "If you want, I could talk." So I said, I just posted, "Oh, now you tell us, thanks." Yeah.
All right. Before we do anything else, Kat's got a question, and I'm going to let her ask Geoffrey.
Oh, yay! Well, this actually piggybacks on what you were talking about with your first adventure on the Paranormal View, with your first episode. And what caught my attention when I was reading through your stories was the story with the additional dog sitter, because it directly affected you and the listeners of the Paranormal View when you were interviewing Robbie Thomas.
Oh, right, yeah, because my friend with whom I was staying in Altadena, his sister lives down in Pasadena, and they were going to be going away because their sister was getting married. They were all going away for this big weekend bash, as it were. And so she said, "Well, you've met my dogs. Would you be interested in house sitting and dog sitting?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And the dogs were all cool and everything, but they were very rambunctious, being purebred beagles, and a beagle bark at the drop of a hat, or
Oh yeah, they
pencil or
howl.
whatever. Exactly, like they're like poodles, like in that way. So I agreed to that, no problem, and all that. And I said, well, one thing I need to do is be able to access Skype and get on the air. And I'm trying to remember if that's the show where I had a problem with Skype. I had to use my phone. I think it might have been. But while I was on the air, all of a sudden we started hearing this typing going on. It wasn't like Kat's frantic typing that we're hearing all night tonight.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. It's just more noticeable. This was very in the distance, and we're like, did we hear typing? And it sounded like a manual typewriter. But it should be noted in later shows, occasionally, Henry, when I would listen to it, I have a feeling it might have been Craig. Maybe not that night, but there were nights that were like, okay, we're hearing typing again.
Right.
And I knew my hands were up, and Craig was saying it wasn't him. But at one point I was looking at the chat room, and I hear tet, and the words LOL came up under his name.
Under his name? Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, okay, he thinks it's quieter than it is.
That it is, yeah, because it will
Yeah.
pick it up. The typing is real easy to be picked up.
Exactly. And since I'm just trying to stay as focused as my scatterbrain can do tonight, that's why I'm not typing, and I'll do up the report after I listen to the podcast. But yeah, we while I was the thing was since this typing was going on, and I knew it wasn't me. At one point, the dogs did decide to become active, and I thought, uh-oh, this isn't going to work at all. So I brought them into another room, and I bribed them with a couple of treats just to keep them. I was like, kind of quiet now, I'm on the air, So I'm being as silent as I can. Meanwhile, my phone is still picking up the sounds of the typing. Now, it didn't really sound like a computer keyboard that night. It sounded like a manual typewriter without ever hitting the return. It wasn't like it ever hit the bell and the return or anything like that. And when I got back, I realized it was still typing. I could still hear the typing, and I knew that I hadn't been sitting at the computer, so I knew it wasn't there. But later on, after the show and everything, I heard this weird arguing with what I thought was neighbors next door. And I'm like, oh, God, it's 2 in the morning. Go to sleep already and everything. And the dogs are all sharing the bed. They have no care in the world. But the house just seemed a little interesting. And then when they got back, I said, there was a weird knocking on the wall, which there was. I don't remember if it wasn't during the show, but it was while I was typing. It was while I was on the computer just doing on the internet stuff. And I was hearing this knocking on the walls. And I'm thinking, the moment I realized, why am I not doing anything about hearing these knocks on a wall that I shouldn't be hearing knocks on a wall? Clearly, something is knocking on a wall, and it's not me or the dogs. So the moment I took an action to get up out of the chair, the knocking stopped. And again, when I was trying to sleep, when I wasn't hearing the arguing neighbors, if they were neighbors that were arguing that I was hearing, I was hearing knocking. And every time I went to say, I'm going to go see what that is, it would stop. And I'm like, Argh. So I mentioned this to my friend when she came back, and she said, well, did we not tell you the place has a ghost? I'm like, oh, you're telling me this now? I say I would have had a digital recorder down here and cameras and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I was taking silly pictures of the dogs, but apparently my friend's daughter had a, quote, imaginary friend, unquote, when she was much earlier than the time that children develop imaginary friends. So when she was a toddler, she was having conversations with something no one else could see. So there was something in the house, but whatever was making the sounds, it wasn't in a threatening kind of way. It was just like, just trying to get your attention, just hello, you know. And by the time once my attention was gone, it was like, well, we got your attention. We can stop now. I'm like, no, it shouldn't work that way. You should keep knocking so I can find you and stuff. And, oh. So I'm hoping the next time when they say, hey, we're going away for the weekend, can you dog sit the boys? I'm like, yes! I'll be all happy.
Wow, that's cute. I like the comment you were ghost sitting.
I was ghost sitting.
Ghost sitting.
Ghost sitting.
Ghost sitting.
You know, speaking of that, you had another story that I thought was pretty neat called Cat Magic.
Oh, yeah. Well, cats are magic anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple of cats in my life. Well, more than a couple, really. I've had my first cat, Bast, who was this beautiful white Siamese mix. And he always, no matter when he meowed, no matter how content and happy he was, whenever he vocalized, and it was a lot, he always sounded like he was complaining about something. He sounded cantankerous, even when he was the happiest kitty in the world. And it was hilarious, to the point that if I turned away and then turned back to him, he would meow on cue. So I actually got him on my answering machine with a little script that we did. So we need Bass to meow at this point. And I would just look at Bass, and he would meow. But I always believe that cats, for some reason, whenever I've had a cat, I've always named him after a deity. Except for Mickey. Mickey was looked very much like a cat named Mickey my parents had owned. So when we adopted Mickey, we said, well, clearly she's a Mickey cat, and that's clearly got to be her name as well. Now, Mickey, both Bast and Mickey had collars that had little tags that identified them. So if they actually got out, and they were indoor cats, we didn't let them out. But if something ever horribly happened and they were found, the tag was to the local animal shelter at which I worked for 4 years, and they would say, well, we found this cat, and here's the 4-digit number, and they say, oh, that belongs to so-and-so here, and hooray, the cat can go back to its owners. Well, Mickey hated wearing a collar. She wasn't a feral cat, but she was a street cat. She'd been caught as a young pregnant female cat, and she had been had the kittens excised, as to put it diplomatically, and she was spayed at the same time. And at first, she and Bass took a little getting used to each other. Bass was all fine with it because he had come from a household of cats prior to me. So he was like, wow, it's just me. And he had to deal with the fact we had a dog, but when the dog passed away, and she was like, okay, Bass was like, okay, the heads count's off. We got Mickey. And Mickey was like, get away from me, you. And Bass is like, I just want to be friends. And she would smack him around. Well, Bass had cancer in his ears. But being such an awesome cat, I took him to the vet that the shelter used. And because I had adopted him from the shelter, he was a rescue, and he was so sweet that they actually gave me a major discount. Because of the fact I worked at the shelter, I was the animal control officer for the 3 communities. And so instead of costing, there's no way we can afford this, it was like $500. I'm like, do it. So Bass lived many years after that, so that was all good. But like I say, Bass was fine with his collar. He was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'll deal with it. Whereas Mickey was like, I don't know why you're making me wear stuff. I'm supposed to be a cat, so I should be naked. And occasionally she could work her collar off of her head. So occasionally you just collar. And if she really worked on it, she'd split. It was one of those little elastic collars that had the little bit of elastic, so it hooked on something, it would pop off. And she'd figured that out. So she'll tell you she could actually snap that little piece of elastic. So you know, like, oh, now we have to go get an entirely new collar for it. But one day she walks in, naked as a little Mickey kitty, and I'm like, she got her collar off. Well, I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere. I knew all her hiding places. I'm like, where could you put it? She's looking at me like, you're not going to find it, you know. Kind of a look the way cats do. And I said, all right, let's see. And I searched everywhere. Well, we're like, well, we are selling the house because we were being taxed out of it. We couldn't afford the house anymore. And we were going to move. And we're like, well, clearly we're going to find it because we're going to move. And where's it going to go? Every square inch of that house was emptied and cleaned and brushed. And we were deliberately keeping an eye out saying, where did Mickey's collar go? It never showed up. It just was gone. And we just were amazed at this. We're like, okay, did she, like a cat, phase into another dimension, then take it off and phase back into our reality? We don't know where that collar went. So we're like, that's just cat magic. That's what they do. Because cats are at one with the universe. That's why they see ghosts and stuff like that.
Okay, we still have some tickets to give away.
How many tickets left?
I've got 4 here.
We've only got 20
one.
left.
You can only win one, and you can only win once. So throw those in. First one's to a private message Cat Cloco or Urban Cat. You can win a ticket to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention, April 27th, 28th, and 29th.
My birthday.
Sponsored by Keith Age and Louisville Ghost Hunter Society. The Booth Brothers will be there. Tiffany Johnson, Aaron Houdini, Rick Hayes, Brian Hornois, John Kachuba, and Scotty Rorick, and many others. Dave from Parax will be there broadcasting the whole show. And I will be there, and I'm sure some others will be floating around from Parax, so it will be a great time there. So if you get a chance, come on out, and you got a chance to win a ticket for it right now. All you have to do is private message Cat, and we'll get a ticket out.
We already got a winner, though, Henry.
Oh.
Before you could even finish explaining everything.
Oh, all right. And that would be who?
Mama Judy.
All right. Woo-hoo. Way to go.
Yay!
All you have to do is send me your full name, your mailing address, and we'll get those over to Dave, and he can get tickets sent out, and we'll be good to go with that. I still have 3 more, so if you'd like a chance to go to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention, go ahead and private message Cat Cloco or Urban Cat right now, because time is running out. It's already 9:40. We only got 20 minutes, so you need to get that taken care of. Win a ticket tonight.
So this is to win another ticket.
Yeah, so we'll give another one to somebody else.
PM me, guys.
Yeah.
You know, Kat, now I've got that one of my favorite songs running in my head.
Which one's that?
Windy. Everyone knows
Oh.
it's windy because she had said we have a winner and she misspelled it and said winder. So I joked in the chat room, everyone knows it's winder. And
Yes.
nobody's apparently got it yet, but there you go.
Now, also, I want to let everybody know if you do have a question for Jeff, and he's a good talker, got lots of good stories. But if you do have a question, private chat either one of us, myself, Kat, or Geoffrey, and we'll get those answered. You got a lot of good stories that was in there. Let's see. How about your? How about the bathroom guest?
Oh, that's one of my favorites. I was one of my earliest pre-SAG commercials I did was for a foreign beer commercial called Cardinal Beer, and the storyline was that a man in heaven is there, and he drinks a beer, and because he drinks a beer, it sends him to hell. Why a beer would be in heaven to send someone to hell is, they don't quite get into that, of course. But when he gets to hell, it turns out to be very much this Barbarella-esque kind of party atmosphere, as opposed to punishment in hell and such like that. Although it was interesting when I saw it that they had added fire coming off the top of my head, which I thought was interesting. They made my character was literally called Madman. And I had this weird yellow jacket, and somebody found a hand puppet of a skunk. So I'm essentially got this little skunk that I'm carrying around. It's a hand puppet, but it's an actual. It's not just a gun or something. It's literally somebody had skinned a skunk and made a hand puppet out of it. So it was kind of creepy, but I was like, oh, dibs on that. And it was filmed at the downtown LA Theater, which is on Broadway near Fifth. And it was an all-day affair, and it was really cool. And it was my first time there. Now, you've probably seen the lobby of this this very opulent theater in car commercials, Victoria's Secret commercials. Every so often, I was like, I know where they're filming that. Well, we went to lunch, and I was talking to some of the technicians, and I said, boy, if this place is so clearly been here for so long, I would be surprised if it wasn't haunted, being a theater. And they said, oh, yes, it is. And they pointed out that there was a woman in the cast who had been given a role as a thank you. She was the secretary of the Historical Society of the building. And she had pointed out a few ghost stories to they and to other crew members and such. And I said, oh, that's awesome. But I didn't think much about it. I mean, at one point, though, I said, oh, now I have to go to the bathroom. And I was clear they weren't going to have me in the shot for for a while. So I said, well, the only bathroom I could remember was down in the cellars. And I'm like, okay, well, I have no problem with going down to a cellar by myself. But before I got to those stairs, I saw this large opening, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. It's a theater. They've got to have public bathrooms up here. Sure enough, this large archway goes into this beautiful tile room, like an antechamber. To the left, there were 4 or 5 sit-down shoe shine spots, and then ahead, 2 more archways. Now, depending on which archway you went in, one went to stand-up urinals, and the other went to sit-down stalls. But both were connected. No matter which archway you went, you could go into the other section after you passed through those arches. But there were no doors, but there was also no way to walk without hearing your footsteps on this tile floor. So I sit in the middle stall, and I had already seen, without looking, I just know, nobody else is in here but me. And it was dead silent because everyone else was filming upstairs. And while I'm finishing up, all of a sudden the toilet next to me flushes. And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, I don't do anything like, you know how when you're in a bathroom, you don't, well, males anyway, we don't really converse in a bathroom. It's not something we tend to do, especially with strangers. So I was like, okay, I didn't hear anybody come in. So I turn around and I make sure, okay, it's a manual flusher. It's not like any kind of air pressure is made an automatic toilet flush or anything. I lean way over, and there are no feet to my left, no feet to my right. And I quickly finish. I get up, and as I finish putting my pants on, I hear this loud male sigh, literally sounding loud and clear like, ah. I leap out of the stall, and every stall is empty. There's no one in there but me. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. That's just awesome and unexpected. And and if anybody asks, yes, I flushed my own toilet. So I went upstairs, and at the end of the day, when we were wrapped, since thankfully we were all done in very elaborate outfits, and I knew who the society secretary was, I went over to her and I said, I understand you're the secretary of the Historical Society of the building. She said, oh, yeah. I said, just out of curiosity, they said that there's rumors of the place might be haunted. And she was all giddy about it. She was, oh, yes, there are cold spots and voices, and people don't go in the cellar after dark, and all this stuff. And I said, is there any? And all I asked was, is there anything about that main men's bathroom? She says, oh, yes, you could hear voices in there, and toilets will flush themselves. And to which I just said, well, you can chalk someone else up to having that experience, because that's what happened to me. Now, years later, a friend of mine had there was a film festival that took place at the same theater, and a friend of mine had recommended a film, which, believe me, it shouldn't have recommended. But after I had seen it, I went down to the bathroom and I took some photos. And I took some photos in the lobby, and I got some weird whiteness to the side of the screen, which didn't make any sense to me when the photos came back. And these were on emulsion film, so it wasn't like digital. And I'm like, there's nothing that would have reflected light in the way that came back. So I don't know what the white blotches were. But I saw a security guard that clearly looked like he worked for the building, not the film festival. And I spoke to him, and I told him my experience. And he said, oh, yeah, he had worked for the place for like over 20 years. And he had said that when he's there absolutely empty and it's just him, he'll hear people following him on the metal staircase. He says he knows of at least 2 ghosts that hang out in the projection room. And I was like, oh, I would so like to be able to investigate this place.
Wow. Is that place open for investigations?
I don't know. It's possible. I've never thought to ask.
Okay. We are, skipping right on with time. So, I'm going to give everyone another chance. If you'd like a chance to win a ticket to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention, private message Urban Cat right now. All you have to do is just private message her and say, I want to win, and you can win a ticket. I have 3 left, and you can only win one of them, and you can only win once. But if you'd like to go to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention, which is the end of April 27th, 28th, and 29th, now's a chance to get a ticket. And while we're waiting for that, I want to let everybody know who we're going to have next week.
Woo-hoo. An actual guest. Oh, wait.
Yeah. We had a guest tonight, a very good one.
Yeah.
Full of good stories and keep everybody's attention. So that's great. I do want to thank everyone who did send in questions to Jeff. Now,
thank you, yes.
Next week, we have an author by the name of Nathan Robert Brown. And he's the author of The Computer Idiot's Guide to the Paranormal.
The Computer Idiot's Guide to the Paranormal.
Did I
Okay.
Get that right? No, I'm sorry. The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Paranormal.
Oh, okay. So essentially you were given an incomplete title of the complete book.
I couldn't read my writing. But it's The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Paranormal. Ought to be a fascinating guest. So tune in next week for that.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Kat will let us know just as soon as we get a winner.
So is this for like elderly ghost hunters or something? I don't know. Although I love there's a T-shirt that actually shows an A drive disc.
Oh, is that
and it said, "Kids today don't know what this is."
Oh, yeah. I still have a couple of old computers that has A drives and C drives and D drives and all the other good stuff.
Well, C drive sort of makes your computer start.
Yeah, but you got the A drive, the B drive.
Well, generally the B drive used to be the big wide floppies.
Right, the B drive was a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk. The A drive was a little 3 1/2 inch disc.
Yeah, but they were much more solid and less likely to bend.
Yes. So, and Kat,
Yes.
Why don't you let everybody know, because I know you're doing a few other things other than just writing books. And why don't you tell everybody some of the things that you've got going on and how they might be able to find it?
Okay. Well, I just posted, as we were speaking on the show tonight, the very first episode of my Urban Legends Tour paranormal show. And for people who would like to watch it, it is available now at my website, www.huntforghosts.com. And I will post it in the chat room so people can watch it as soon as we are done tonight. It's about 12 minutes long, and its focus is on Bloody Mary. Now, to keep it
Is that how long it takes you to get drunk? 12 monkey? Oh, the wrong Bloody Mary. I'm sorry.
No, not the delicious tomato drink, but yeah. Anyway, so what I would like to do later is do just a special on Bloody Mary legends that are native to America, because I know here in Ohio we have at least 2 Bloody Mary locations where the urban legend is said to originate from. There's another one in Indiana. I'm sure there are others outside of the Midwest, but there was just so much information I couldn't... Mike, my husband, was calling it the 80-hour documentary because it was just taking forever to go through everything. But I'm very excited. It took me 2 years to finally debut this show, so please check it out. Tell me what you think.
Now, have you seen the Paranormal Activity trilogy?
I have not.
They are, apart from being probably unintentionally, but they are hilarious. To me, certainly, because I just have a twisted mind. Be a little careful if you get vertigo with like the really handheld stuff. I know what I generally did with the first film was during the daytime stuff, I just kept my eyes closed, and when they had the static camera, I'd be able to watch. But each film succeeds the previous story. Like you watch part 1, part 2 is the prequel to that, and part 3 is the prequel even earlier. And it's sort of like, if you've seen the previous films, this will make sense. Well, the third film kind of deals with Bloody Mary on a couple of spots.
Huh.
And it's in the trailer as well. The trouble is the trailer doesn't read very well on computers. Right. But in the theater, it's like, oh, that's nice and creepy.
Oh, good. Actually, I don't watch horror films, but I do not.
I don't either.
Well, look at them as the concept of people who are doing their own investigation that probably could have gotten less scary.
Yeah, I'll probably look at it that way.
And by my point of view is it's a lot of creepy as opposed to scary.
Yeah, it's not gory, is it?
I don't think there's any gore whatsoever.
It's just suspenseful.
Yeah, it's a lot of suspense mainly.
Yeah,
and
like the
a couple of jump
Japanese Ring
scares,
is like
and a couple of jump scares here and there.
I can tolerate that.
Yeah, and a lot of the jump scares are real. Like, oh, here comes that. And then if it's sort of like, okay, that's the setup, and there we go. So for me, I can usually predict when they happen.
Okay. I want to let everybody know that tomorrow night on Dave's show here on Para X, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Dave will be giving tickets away to the Mid-Ohio Paranormal Convention. So tune in there and have another chance to try and win a ticket. Before Jeff starts telling you all of our little stuff, I want to thank everybody that's listening from around the world. We have listeners tonight in the U.S., the UK, Canada, Ireland, Australia, Spain, Switzerland.
Blimey.
And the one called 3 Others.
Spain is new. Welcome, Spain.
Yes. Want to welcome everybody that's listening tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the show and hope you come back next week at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on para-x.com. And Jeff, you got about 3 minutes to run down all of our sites.
Okay, well, as I indicated at the beginning of the show, my own website is geoffgould.net, GEOFFGOULD.net. If you add /2011PNV.htm, that goes to my Paranormal View page on my site, which you can choose which previous edition you'd like to read the report on and or listen to the podcast. So I have links on that page, or you go to the report page. The podcast is embedded on that as well. Our Paranormal View official site is theparanormalview.com. And for all your Paranormal View attire, you can go to cafepress.com/realbadgershop, all one word. At Facebook, just do a search for the Paranormal View. There we are. And I'm sure Kat can give out her stuff and Henry give out theirs, but they're linked to me, so
That's right. That's right. I do want to let everybody know, though, if you would like the Paranormal View to come to one of your events, maybe do a live broadcast from it, you can contact us at theparanormalview@gmail.com. Very easy to do. And let us know all about what you'd like. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, again, the paranormalview@gmail.com, and tell us who you are and what you do and all about it, and we'll see about maybe trying to get you on as a guest. So had a great night tonight. I want to thank Kat Cloco for her first time as our co-host, and she did a fabulous job.
Oh, thanks.
I'm sure you're going to be doing a whole lot more as soon as you get cranked up here, because I'll be putting you to work.
Yes, sir.
So Geoffrey, as always, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody in the chat room for listening tonight. I want to thank everybody from around the world for listening tonight, and let everybody know you've been listening to the Paranormal View right here on the para-x.com radio network. So until next week, this is Henry Foister,
Geoffrey Gould.
And Cat Cloco.
See you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We're leaving. We're gone. Paranormal View. Come back and visit us again if you dare. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. The Paranormal View.